Hmm. So this is Keith, the IT teaching guy. Today I was going over BIOS and motherboards, and they had the introduction to the BIOS. The BIOS is firmware software that is hard-coded into hardware, and new BIOS software can be upgraded as well. So let's take a look at the BIOS in Google Chrome as usual, and back in here. BIOS is just a chip which can store different software, and you can upgrade BIOS from time to time, going to the motherboard manufacturer to find the latest BIOS version for your computer. The BIOS goes through what's called a post test. It's Oh, sorry about that. The post test is the initial start test of a computer, and the steps of the post. The BIOS is first initialized and checked. Number 2, the CPU registers are then verified. 3, your RAM memory size is verified, and then the integrity of the RAM is checked. For newer computers, they usually have a default setting to where the RAM is not integrity checked anymore, because we have a better working RAM nowadays. So you can always go into your BIOS and check. Okay, so yes, you can always go into your BIOS and turn on your RAM integrity checking if you would like. It just takes a little bit more time to go through the post test. System devices are detected and initialized in the fourth step. Step 5, system with highest priority is selected, and its MBR is executed. So whatever you have to in the priorities of your CMOS setup utility, you can change the priority around, and you can set up to boot from your hard drive, your CD-ROM drive, your flash drive, and whatever has the highest priority, that is what will boot first, and the master boot record on that device will execute. So during a post, there's a summary screen, and we'll take a look at that here. And you usually get a summary screen that tells what version of the BIOS you're running and different things that are checked. Here you can see it's detecting the ID, primary, master, slave, and other CD-ROM drive, and seeing which devices are working or functioning properly, and it'll give you an overview as well. This summary gives options also to enter the CMOS setup utility, and see on the screen it says press delete to enter setup. So it's just different for each computer. You'd want to catch that screen. Sometimes it'll say F2 or F9 or F8, whatever it may be. And there's different setups, different setup screens, or there's a BIOS screen. So you just have to check your settings. Now we'll go on and talking about the CMOS is a microchip, complementary metal oxide semiconductor. That's what CMOS stands for. It stores variable system settings such as date, time, CPU speed, bus settings. So the BIOS can access these settings when a computer is started. Bus, they had a note that if you want to know what a bus is a collection of circuits that connect and transmit data between resources. So that was a little side note that they added in there. So talking about the CMOS again, using CMOS setup utility, you can view statistics or change settings such as RAM, internal and external media, power usage, system fans, the CPU. And so when you go into this setup utility, you want to make sure you're not making changes that are going to mess up your computer. So if you want to practice using this setup utility, I would suggest downloading the VirtualBox and practicing in there, and an operating system under there. So looking at the CMOS, you can see this. It's just a semi-metal oxide semiconductor chip, and it also has a CMOS battery, and the battery stores this information, the settings that you've set for that CMOS. And if you ever need to reset those settings, you can just take out the battery for a few seconds and then put it back in. Because sometimes somebody will put a password on the startup, and you might not know what the password is, and or for administration, and the CMOS setup utility might have a password as well. So you might want to erase that. So you'd have to take out the battery to do that, to reset your settings back to default. So that was all for today in going over the BIOS settings and the CMOS there. So they're going to go into the CMOS a little bit more in the next video. So keep studying for your A+ test.